All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are going to crack a code. We're going to pull back the curtain on this kind of hidden blueprint that's tucked inside all those simple stories and announcements you hear. And, once you see it, it's going to change how you listen to things forever. You know that feeling, right? The audio's playing, you're trying your best to keep up, and then poof, your mind just goes blank. And you just know you missed that one critical detail. It is so frustrating. But what if I told you the problem isn't really your memory at all? It's your approach. So here's the big idea we're going to unpack today. These listening exercises, and honestly, most of the simple info we get every day, they're not just random. They're built on a framework, a really simple, repeatable blueprint. And once you learn to see it, you'll stop trying to memorize everything, and you'll start actually anticipating what's important. So here's our game plan for cracking this code. First, we'll lay out exactly what this blueprint is. Then we're going to break it down into what I'm calling 3 pillars: the WH core, the critical details, and the comparison challenge. And then we'll see how knowing all this can really turn you into an expert listener in, well, pretty much any situation. Okay, let's get into it. To really see this blueprint in action, we're going to take a simple story from our source material and just pull it apart piece by piece. Have a listen to this. It's just a little story about a weekend trip. I mean, on the surface, it's totally normal. Sounds like something anyone would say. But hidden inside are the exact types of information the blueprint is designed to test.
And boom, just like that, the story looks completely different. It stops being just a story and it becomes more like a data delivery system. See how every little detail fits so neatly into these categories? The when, the who, the where, how, and what? This is the basic structure of the blueprint.
Okay, so let's dig into that first pillar. The absolute foundation of these narratives is what I call the WH core. It's the must-have context. Who are we talking about? Where are they? And when is all this happening? And this is where the pattern just becomes so obvious, you can't miss it. A weekend trip, someone's daily routine, an airport announcement, 3 totally different situations. But look at the foundation. They each anchor you with the who, the where, and the when. This is always your starting point. It's where you anchor your listening. So, once you're anchored in that core context, the blueprint adds its next layer, the critical details. This is where a lot of us get tripped up, right? But the trick is to realize that even these details are predictable. Think about all the numbers that get thrown at you. They're not just random. They almost always fall into one of 3 buckets. You've got times, like when a flight leaves. You've got identifiers, like a flight number. And then you have quantities or measurements, like temperature. They're specific types of data, not just random noise. When you start listening for these categories, you'll hear them pop up everywhere. So, for example, there's always a time, like the 10 a.m. arrival from that weekend trip we heard about. Then, your ears should be perked for an identifier, like Flight 542 in that airport announcement. And finally, you're looking for a quantity or a measurement, like the 28-degree temperature in the weather report. See? These aren't just random facts. They are placed there on purpose, like little markers. If you expect them, you're so much more likely to catch them.
But, beyond the numbers, there's another critical detail the blueprint loves to test: your understanding of cause and effect. It's not just about what happened, but why it happened.
And these stories, they almost always hand you the why on a silver platter. The speaker took a taxi. Why? Because it rained. Passengers should see the staff. Why? For assistance. So your job as a listener is to tune your ear for these little trigger words, like because, so, for. They're the key that unlocks the reason.
Okay, now for the most advanced part of the blueprint. This is where things get really tricky, because it forces you to process and compare 2 different but related streams of information, all at the same time. The weather report is just the perfect stress test for this. Your brain is being asked to do 2 things at once here. You're trying to process, okay, north, cloudy with rain, while at the very same time, you have to catch and hold on to, okay, south, sunny, and 28 degrees. The real challenge isn't just hearing the facts, it's keeping them straight in your head. And it's not a one-off thing. The report immediately doubles down on this. Now you're trying to contrast the windy west with the cool and dry east. This isn't an accident. It's a deliberate part of the blueprint, designed specifically to test your mental organization in real time. So we've taken this blueprint apart. But so what? Why does any of this matter outside of some language exam? Well, because this structure isn't just for tests. It's how we communicate simple, essential information to each other all the time.
And that gives you this incredibly powerful new strategy. Step 1, just figure out the context. Am I at an airport? Is this a personal story? Step 2, immediately anchor on that WH core. Who, where, when. Step 3, actively hunt for those critical details, the numbers, the reasons. And finally, step 4, anticipate a comparison. This is the difference between just passively hearing sound and actively, strategically listening.
And that brings us right back to the blueprint itself. It's this predictable framework for organizing information. And once you see it, I'm telling you, you'll start spotting it everywhere. From the news to instructions from your boss, you realize you've kind of cracked a fundamental pattern of how we communicate.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. Now that you can see the matrix, the underlying structure of how all this information is packaged, will you ever be able to listen to a public announcement or a news update or even just a friend telling a story the same way again? Start listening for the blueprint. You're going to be amazed how often you find it.